Good morning, everyone. We are learning Mishna is Tainus, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishna Dalet, Mishnah 4. Let's begin with an introduction. As taught earlier, the members of the week's Maimid, both those in the Beis Hamikdash and those in their towns, recite 3 prayers in the daytime, Shachris, Mincha, and Ne'ilah. On days when a Musaf offering is brought, they also recite the Musaf prayer. At each of these services, they read from the Torah and ask special prayers for the acceptance of the offerings as they are fasting. The Mishnah teaches that on certain occasions, the members of the Maimid who are in the Beis Hamikdash say only the basic prayers of Shachris, Musaf when relevant, Mincha, and Ne'ilah, and omit the Torah readings that we mentioned before. So as we mentioned before, the members, the Yisraelim of the Maimid, both the Beis Hamikdash, both in their cities, they read from the Torah. We are going to now go through, our mission now talks about when the members, the Yisraelim members of the Maimid at the Beis Hamikdash, there will be times where they will not be reading from the Torah. So Mishnah Dalet reads like this. Kol Yom Sheyesh Bo Halal. Any day that we recite Halal on, Ein Bo Maimid B'Shachris. There will not be the Ma'amadas, there will not be the Torah readings at Shachris. Since the members of the Maimid must say Halal on these days, in addition to their task of watching the service of the Tamid, they do not have time for the added Torah reading and prayers at Shachris. Once they have to both say Halal and be present at the daily sacrifice and do whatever else they may, besides being present, it seems there were other things they assisted in. Therefore, we do not have them take care of the Mamadas also. Again, not clear to me why you can't do all 3, but that's what it says. They have to say Halal in addition to the task of watching, so we don't have them doing more. We don't have them doing the Torah reading also. Okay, now, let me read to you from the notes. It's important. Since Halal is recited Shachris, the Maimid service of Shachris is omitted. The Maimid services of Mincha and Ne'ilah remain in place, right? The rest of the day where they have Mincha, Ne'ilah, and the reading of the Torah that takes place then, that stays in place. That's not affected by the fact that they have to say Halal in the morning. Halal is said by Shachris, and they're by the morning service, and therefore it's going to, so to speak, displace the Ma'amadas. Now, as mentioned before, only the Maimid members who attend the services in the Beis Hamikdash do not hold Maimid services on the occasions listed in the Mishnah, because the added readings and prayers might interfere with the tasks they have to perform there. Maybe it's the fact that there is something more that they have to do afterwards will somehow or another detract what they have to do now. The members who remain in their home, in their towns, and are not preoccupied with, and are not occupied with the offerings, do not have any Maimid services. Okay, as we said before, there's no reason why they should skip the Ma'amadas. Okay, the Mishnah's law that Halal overrides the Maimid service of Shachris, as we just said, applies only on Yom Tov, Chol HaMoed, and Chanukah, when reciting Halal is obligatory. On Rosh Chodesh, when reciting Halal is merely a custom, that may be surprising because it's such a widespread practice, but essentially it's a custom. It was not instituted as an obligation, but it's a practice that the Jewish people that was accepted. That's its basis. It does not displace the Maimid services of Shachris. So now, so far that's the beginning of the Mishnah. A day that has Halal, there's no Maimid by Shachris, but the rest of the day there will be. Now, from the next in the Mishnah, it's clear that when we talk about a day that has Halal, we're talking about a day that has Halal alone and not a carbon musaf. You know, there are days that we have Halal and a carbon musaf. On Yom Tov, we have Halal and we have musaf. The time of the year, or the occasion on the Jewish calendar where we have Halal, but we don't have musaf, is Chanukah. And as mentioned now, Chanukah is an obligation to recite Halal. Rosh Chodesh Musaf, on the other hand, as we're going to see what happens by Musaf, But Rosh Chodesh Shachris, where we say halal, but as we just said, it's only a custom. Its basis is a custom. Therefore, the Mamadis will still be said that. The Mishnah continues. Carbon Musaf. On a day where there's the carbon Musaf, the additional sacrifices. Okay. Now, this will hold true whether there's a carbon Musaf and halal. Just that if there's halal that day, you won't say it by Shachris either. It'll affect Shachris. And then sometimes you have carbon musaf without halal, like Rosh Chodesh. Carbon musaf, on a day where there's the carbon musaf, ein boy b'ne'ilah. There is no ma'amadas by ne'ilah. Now, just reading the words right now, if you tell me that there's no ma'amadas by ne'ilah, because if you have ma'amadas by ne'ilah, some or another is going to disturb what they have to do by the carbon musaf, then what precedes ne'ilah, which is mincha, is also included. So when we say here that carbon musaf ain by b'ne'ilah, like carbon musaf, there's on the day that a carbon musaf is brought, there's no ma'amadas by ne'ilah. That means there's no karbanas by musaf, there's no karbanas by mincha and by ne'ilah, all three. And what's the issue exactly when there's a carbon musaf? So the way they explained it here is because the members of the ma'amid are occupied with preparing wood and water for the musaf offerings. And therefore, because of that, we say all the way even through ne'ilah, there's no ma'amadas. So now let me read you here from how the notes, sums up things here regarding what we just said about the musaf. The musaf offering displaces the ma'amid services of musaf, mincha, and ne'ilah, but not that of shachris, which were recited earlier in the day before the preparations for the musaf offering begin. When there's a musaf offering, the people of the Ma'amadas, even the Israelim, they're busy. They're going to be busy. Besides being at the carbon, it seems that they participated in some way. They were busy with other things. Okay, so therefore, musaf on, no Ma'amadas. But it doesn't affect Shachris. It doesn't affect the Ma'amadas of Shachris. The Ma'amadas Shachris was recited early enough that there's no problem with the Ma'amadas and the musaf preparations, which were done later. Okay. Then, continuing here in the notes, on many occasions when the musaf offering is brought, we also recite halal. Therefore, on those days, the members of the ma'amid do not hold the ma'amid service at Shachris in any event, since that service is displaced by halal. On Rosh Chodesh, however, when halal does not override the ma'amid service of Shachris, as we just said, because halal then is based on custom, they omit the ma'amid services only at musaf, mincha, ne'ilah, and not at shachris. Because there's no issue. There's no halal by shachris, or there's not the kind of halal that displaces ma'amadas by shachris and Rosh Chodesh. But because it's a carbon musaf, you will not have ma'amadas by musaf, mincha, and ne'ilah. Okay. The last thing is carbon eitzim. When the wood offering was brought. What's the wood offering? So again, let me read to you here from the notes. This is something we're going to learn soon about in the Mishnah, in the later Mishnayos. Certain families had the privilege of contributing firewood for the altar, for the Mizbeach. Each family was assigned a different day or days each year on which to make its contribution. On its day, the family would also bring an ola offering, which was called the carbon eitzim, the wood offering. So on a day where there was the carbon eitzim, what does the Mishnah then say? Carbon eitzim, ein b'mincha. Carbon eitzim does not have the ma'amadas by mincha, but it will have it by ne'ilah. Now, what is the issue about the ma'amadas by the carbon eitzim? What's the interference here? So we say like this. Again, reading from the article explanation, any day on which a wood offering is brought, there is no ma'amid service at mincha, because the members of the ma'amid are busy greeting those who come to bring the wood offering. There's a big fuss made about these people who offered the wood. And therefore, the people of Ma'amadas would greet them. And it was around mincha, it was before mincha that the carbon eitzim was brought. And therefore, since they're busy by the carbon eitzim, therefore there is no ma'amadas by mincha, by the next prayer, but by ne'ilah there will be. Already by ne'ilah, that far you don't have to go to be worried about what's going to happen by the carbon eitzim to say even by ne'ilah there's no ma'amadas. Okay, Di Rabbi Akiva, these are the words of Rabbi Akiva. So it's important for us to sum up what Rabbi Kiva said. If there's halal, there's no maimed by shachris. When there's a carbon musaf, there is no mamadas, not by musaf, mincha ne'ilah. When there's a carbon eitzim, when there's the wood offering, so you're not going to have mamadas by mincha, but you will have it by ne'ilah. Okay, that is the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Now, Kach thou Omer ben Azai. Ben Azai said to Rabbi Akiva, Kach Rabbi Yoshua Shoina. This is how Rabbi Yoshua taught these laws. Carbon musaf ain by mincha. By a carbon musaf on a day where there's a carbon musaf, you don't have the ma'amadas, the readings of the Torah by mincha. That means you don't have it by musaf or by mincha. Understandable. If you're not by mincha, if having to do ma'amadas by mincha could somehow or another get in the way of what they have to do by the carbon musaf, or the more so the ma'amadas by musaf. So according to on a day where there's a carbon musaf, there is no there are no ma'amadas by musaf and mincha, but there will be by ne'ilah. Carbon eitzim on the day when the wood offering is brought, ain by ne'ilah. There's no ma'amadas by ne'ilah. If there's no ma'amadas by ne'ilah, then mincha, which is earlier, will also have the ma'amadas. So according to Ben Azai, quoting from quoting Rabbi Yeshua, it comes out the carbon eitzim will not have by mincha or by ne'ilah. So carbon musaf doesn't have ma'amadas by mincha, but has by ne'ilah, and the carbon eitzim won't have by mincha or by ne'ilah. And that's very different than Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Akiva, by carbon musaf, you don't have by musaf, mincha, and ne'ilah. Carbon eitzim, you only don't have by mincha, but you do have by ne'ilah. And according to Ben Azai, no. Carbon musaf doesn't have musaf for mincha, but has by ne'ilah. Carbon eitzim doesn't have by mincha, and it doesn't have by ne'ilah either. Chaza Rabbi Akiva liyashaynik Ben Azai. And Rabbi Akiva changed his opinion to teach these laws as Ben Azai told him. So now we need to understand what was Rabbi Akiva thinking, and what did Ben Azai and what was Ben Azai arguing about, which Rabbi Akiva eventually agreed to. So again, I read to you from the notes. Rabbi Akiva differentiates between the musaf offering, which displaces the maimed service even at ne'ilah, and the wood offering, which displaces only the maimed service of mincha. That's what Rabbi Akiva holds. Since the musaf offerings consist of at least 2 animals as on Shabbos and often many more as on Yontif, it takes much time to prepare. And again, the people of the Maimed were, they had to be present when it would be offered. It seems like they participated in preparation also. So there's a lot to do. As such, it overrides all the Maimed services of the day, except that of Shachris. Right? So now, all the way to Ne'ilah, you're not going to even have to do Ne'ilah. Somehow or another, the ma'amadas of if there are ma'amadas by ne'ilah, it could somehow or another take away from all the preparations they need to do earlier. Yes, maybe knowing that they have these things ahead of them, it's going to distract them, take them away from what they have to do now. Not exactly sure, but but this is what Rabbi Akiva teaches. Now that's by carbon musaf. The wood offering, by contrast, which consists of just one animal, displaces only the maimed service of mincha. It's not allowed to be done by carbon eitzim. And therefore, since there's not a lot of it to be done, so by carbon eitzim, it's going to displace mincha, which is the next service, but ne'ilah not. That is the opinion of Ben Azai, Rabbi Akiva. Ben Azai holds the wood offering displaces the maimed services of ne'ilah, but the musaf does not. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line difference between them. This is the explanation. Since the musaf offering is a biblical obligation, it is surely given the attention it deserves. Thus, there is little concern that holding the maimed service at ne'ilah might cause the members of the maimed to neglect their duties for the musaf offering. Musaf is the rice, it's our obligation. What's going to happen by ne'ilah, we don't have to be concerned that somehow or another is going to detract from what they have to do by musaf. Okay, the Maimed service of Ne'ilah is therefore observed as usual. The wood offering, however, is solely a rabbinic mitzvah. Therefore, the Maimed service of Ne'ilah must be omitted because otherwise the Maimed members might fail to carry out their duties for that offering. They have their duties to do by the Karban Eitzim, to greet them, to be there. And if they already have to do by Madas by Ne'ilah, that could cause them to neglect what they have to do by Karban Eitzim because it's only the Rabbanim. They don't take it as serious. And therefore, there's more of a potential for it to be neglected. And therefore, they said, no Madas, not by Mincha, not by Ne'ilah. And at the end, the Mishnah tells us Rabbi Akiva agreed, or he changed his opinion to follow how Ben Azai taught, which means, so again, at the end of the day, it comes out, on the day that there's Halal, there's no Maimed by Shachris. On the day that there's Musaf, there is Mamadis by Shachris. But by Musaf, when there's a Karban Musaf brought, there's no Mamadis by Musaf and not by Mincha, but by Ne'ilah. On the day the Karban Eitzim is brought, there's not going to be Mamadis by Mincha or by Ne'ilah. Have a wonderful day.